Hello and welcome to The Stack. This week we feature Never Too Small, an Australian print title born out of a successful video channel featuring small spaces. Also on the show, a new magazine for all the mountain lovers. Enjoy the show. To start the show, I have the pleasure to introduce you to the team of Never Too Small magazine, a print title that actually started as a popular video channel dedicated to small footprint living. The magazine itself includes award-winning tiny micro apartments and much more. To talk about their new issue, we have Colin Chi, founder of Never Too Small, and Elizabeth Price, editor of the magazine.
Never Too Small started as a passion project in 2017 because I myself live in a small apartment, a 37 square meter studio apartment. And then I often trying to find inspiration on how to sort of elevate the design of my apartment, finding inspiration on Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest. And then I thought maybe I could, interview local architects and designers who design all the small spaces. And then I can get to visit their place and get a bit of free advice from them to improve my small apartment. And then we started as a YouTube channel. Very quickly, we gained a lot of subscribers and views, especially during the pandemic time, because everyone stayed home and trying to improve their living. And the magazine came because we met so many talented architects and designers around the world. And then we often hear so many great stories because a lot of architects, they are also designers doing beautiful furniture design. And we also learned that living in small spaces in the city itself is a backyard. This is why the conversation of having a magazine sort of makes sense to us, because our YouTube channels is built on architects talking about small spaces design, and then we already built the core audience for that topic. But it's a bit hard for us to bring others' design topics into the YouTube channel. So we think magazine is the right approach for us.
Well, every media has its own specialities, right, Elizabeth?
Yeah, so I was just going to add the YouTube algorithm doesn't really reward inconsistency. So for us to deviate too wildly from what we're already doing wouldn't really be a great decision for us. So when we felt that we wanted to be more to our audience, we had to find a different channel for that. And we really like the idea of kind of going back to the future and going to print instead.
And Elizabeth, one thing, reading, I know issue 3 just came out, but I was reading issue 2. I mean, one word I have for Never Too Small is irreverence. It's a lovely design title, but there is it's a very playful magazine, just starting, with the cover. And I think that translates very well into a magazine, into a print kind of product, right?
Yeah, that makes us very happy, I think, to hear you say that, because certainly we like to, the words that we talked about when we were thinking about the brand that we wanted to bring to life with the magazine was playful, curious, and certainly unpretentious was something that we really wanted to bring to life as well. Because I think even though we try to be unpretentious in the way that we present what we do on YouTube, in that we don't use architectural jargon and design speak and those sorts of things, they are a little bit more serious, those profiles on YouTube. So we felt that we could bring out more of our personality with this magazine. And in some ways, the magazine is, Colin, correct me if I'm wrong, but, perhaps the truest expression of who we feel we are as a brand.
Yeah. I think we started the YouTube channel as has a very particular style to it. Like, if you watch our YouTube before, the way we tell the stories through music, through the voice of the architects, through the cinematography, which is pretty static and well composed. It's a bit like, I would describe it like classical music orchestra, but the magazine is more like a jazz band, a bit more lively, a bit more flavor, a bit more, how do you say it? It's not improvisation, but it has a bit more energy to it. It's not as rigid in terms of, every issue we have a loose themes. Like the second one is about slow down in the city, in the urban area.
Going slow in the city. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the first issue is more about the overture of how we want to present the concept of the magazine. And the second one is slow down. And the third one is all focused about Japan. And the fourth one, It's about colors.
Oh,
Yep. The
that's an
fourth
exclusive
one,
here. I
yeah.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the Japan issue, which, is out now, it's the newest one, I want to talk about the cover for issue 2. This is so fun. First of all, I love sloths. And Colin, you told me that, there's a man holding kind of a plaque slow. That's your arm, right?
That's my arm, yes. I think we all wear many hats in our team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Liz used to be the voiceover artist. Now is our editor, Jess, who's got a better voice than Liz. No
Oh,
offense, Liz.
hey,
No.
ouch.
No, no, Liz got a pretty voice as well. And that time we were thinking like we want to pay much more for the photographers, and then we have a limited budget because we're a small business. So, we all play many roles, and I volunteer myself to be the person who holding the slow sign.
It's a very important job, Colin, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth, I wonder, issue 3, very exciting. Japan, amazing country. And in a way, after being to Japan, we know that they have a very good usage of space. So I think it's they deserve a special issue dedicated to them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Japanese homes that have been featured on the Never Too Small YouTube channel have been some of our most popular and continue to be audience favorites, and they're also team favorites as well. We just found that everyone in our team was so fascinated by Japanese design, all the beautiful things that come out of that country. And so, yeah, from that perspective, we just felt like we could just double down and do a whole issue. But it was, in the end, in some ways biting off a bit more than, well, we managed to chew it, but, building up an army of collaborators based in Japan when we are not was quite an ambitious task for, an organization who we don't come from a print publishing background. So we're sort of learning as we go with all of this. And it was really important to us that in making that issue, it wasn't just about us looking in on Japan, but we were really surfacing stories from Japan itself and having Japanese writers and photographers, as well as telling stories about local designers. So yeah, it was a big project, but we're pretty pleased we did it. It's pretty special.
And we also have our secret weapon, which is our director,
Oh,
Nam.
of
Yeah.
course.
Yes, Nam's wife is Japanese, so Nam visit Japan every year. And Nam speaks Japanese as well. He studied in Japan, so it sort of helped us as well, editing
Yes.
Japanese episodes and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, so Nam visits regularly, and it was just by happenstance that while we were working on the Japan issue, so Colin went to Japan at the end of last year. I think basically 80% of our team went to Japan just on holidays or trips or whatever, except for me, unfortunately, but I'm planning to go this year.
You must go and get some vintage magazines, Elizabeth. I can tell you that.
I will absolutely be doing that.
Colin, I want to ask you, the magazine now is going to issue 3, you're already planning issue 4. How important is the magazine now for the business? Of course, you had a very, very popular video channel. I've seen incredible number of views. There's been some books as well. There's a lovely store if you go to the Never Too Small website. How important is the magazine becoming, for the business of Never Too Small?
I suppose from the business perspective, our majority of our incomes come from YouTube before, but now slowly we are trying to build like a more sustainable business model by having our books and the magazine.
Colin's right that originally the majority of our revenue came from, YouTube AdSense revenue, but that's really shifted. So we've seen even just over the last, probably a few years, our stores gradually assumed a bigger part of that pie, a bigger piece of that pie, to the extent that now, the greatest source of revenue comes from our store. It outstrips AdSense revenue and brand partnerships that we do as well. We also have other things like we do broadcast TV distribution of Never Too Small and different things like that. But it's all about the store. So the magazine was also, it was a business decision in terms of a way for us to create a sustainable business that would really financially support us to be able to take more risks with the YouTube channel and, make other series potentially, or, new formats for Never Too Small. But the idea is that the magazine will be the sort of jewel in the crown that helps to drive everything else.
I think we have the existing like a fan base for Never Too Small and the subscriber base. So YouTube become like the vehicle for us to promote the magazine. And we already have a lot of followers who are young designers or established designers or architects who's watching our YouTube channel. So they might find the magazine content pretty attractive to them, and which is also stay true to what we want to preach to our audience.
And Colin, you're both based in Australia, and well, the title Never Too Small is based in Australia, but I think there's a very international audience, not just for the channel, but for the magazine as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. So up to the second issues, a lot of the magazine subscribers come from Great Britain and also Europe. It's about 35%. And then 30% from the America, another 30% from Australia, and the rest is from around the world. We are pretty lucky in the sense that we already have an existing audience that we can tap into. So in terms of the marketing and everything else, we can start doing all the marketing through our existing social medias like Instagram and also our YouTube channel.
I want to be a bit cheeky. I want to ask, because of course the magazine, it's all about smaller spaces. How can you use them in a more beautiful way? Your apartments, I mean, do you do that? Are they, I wonder if there's any connection where you guys live as well.
Yeah, I live in a 40 square meter studio apartment with my partner and our dog.
Oh, which dog do you have?
I have a Japanese Spitz. Come here, Shiro.
Yeah, let me have a look.
Yeah. Come here,
He's
Shiro.
gorgeous.
Oh, so cute. Lovely.
He's 10 years old, so he's a bit lazy sometimes.
Oh, he's a good sport, though. He's appeared in a lot of our marketing and different things over the years. But I was going to say, too, that we also get a huge amount of feedback, and like this is very genuine. We get a huge amount of feedback from people who don't live in tiny apartments that they've learnt a huge amount from Never Too Small about just different ideas to apply to their own homes, even if they're large, in terms of just smarter storage solutions or, clever things. So we try to make sure that our content is not alienating to those who don't live in tiny homes.
Yeah. It's also fair to say that you can have design ideas for big spaces, but it doesn't apply in small spaces. But then the ideas for small spaces, you can apply in any other places,
So true.
Yeah.
I qualify for Never Too Small. My apartment is 45 square meters, so I think that's very London as well for you. So, well, another question I like to ask all my Stack guests. I mean, do you guys read much other magazines? Of course, we feature so many titles, but it's fine to say no. But if you prefer maybe books, or I want to hear from you, Elizabeth, and then Colin. What do you guys read in terms of magazines or newspapers?
In terms of magazines that I love to read Noble Rot.
Very
that's
good.
a bit of it's a bit of a favorite, and it was a really strong source of inspiration for us before we started Never Too Small magazine. We just loved the sense of fun and playfulness with their content and how they approached, a subject that typically has quite a lot of snobbery attached to it, but really made it accessible and fun. And that was, I guess, an ethos and an energy that we really, really wanted to bring to what we were doing. Something else that really inspired us about Noble Rot was the fact that their masthead changed. Was it many, many times? It was quite some time. Was it the 7th issue, I think, when they finally landed on one that they then stuck with? It sort of gave us license, because they're such a successful publication, they're so great at what they do, to play around ourselves. This is issue 1, and you would notice that if you had it in your hands that it's not glossy like issue 2. So we started off with a textured matte cover, we went to something glossy. Issue 3, it has a different cover texture again, and it just kind of, I don't know, seeing that Noble Rot played around gave us that confidence to do that as well. Even though I think there's that misconception that perhaps you can't in print, we thought, why not?
It's funny because since none of us really from a magazine publishing background, and we kind of learn as we go, but then we do it in a way that is still really professional. Of course, it's not play around with it, but experimentation is always like the backbone of how Never Too Small started. And then this is why we kind of carrying the concept of experimentation through all the way to the magazine. And also a lot of the time, the stories or the talents that we feature, they are emerging artists or designers that we think they need a bit of a spotlight, because we want to bring out the different type of design concepts that you don't see in other publications maybe, but then they are more like a niche name that you normally don't hear in the big publications, but we're trying to bring it into our magazine and put a spotlight on them. So because design is quite interesting, it doesn't have a fixed rules. We are trying to tell the story like, there's no perfect home for everyone. It's more like a perfect home for yourself, same as the magazine and the content we're trying to portray and tell as well.
I feel very conscious, Fernando, that I sort of deviated from your initial question. But I mean, because we're not from a print publishing background, certainly with issue 1 and issue 2, I found myself buying a lot of magazines just to see how other people were designing them and writing them and editing them and all of those things. And so some that I really came across that I've really enjoyed is Passenger. Do you know the Italian? It's sort of like a travel journal.
Yes, really in depth,
beautifully, yeah, really beautifully edited and designed. That's been an interesting one. Tools. Do you know Tools?
Tools, I don't know.
Tools magazine.
Wow, I'll make a note here for a future episode.
Yeah, it's a bilingual magazine, which is pretty fascinating, and each issue is based on a different tool or action. So the edition that we have in our office is To Cut, and it's all about tools for cutting, and it's really fun in the way that it's designed, and yeah, it's a beautiful magazine.
What about you, Colin?
I have to say Monocle is one of the magazines that I've been following since you guys started. And other than that, one of the magazines that's inspired a lot is called Cream magazine from Hong Kong, but I bought those copies back in my high school years time. So that's probably like 25 years ago. I think they're still running, but I'm not sure. But I get a lot of inspiration from it.
Thank you very much, Colin and Elizabeth there from Never Too Small. Issue 2 is out now, and issue 3 will be out soon. It will be a Japan special, and guess who's featured there in an article about Japanese magazines? Your very own Stack host. And for more information about Dan, go to nevertoosmall.com.
Funny how many people get these things wrong. I go into a lot of jazz clubs and I go, what made you build it like this?
Everyone's got an opinion about design these days. Join us on a journey to cut through the noise as we sit down with some of the design greats.
It's possible to really improve how we live and how we work through design.
We also have you covered on everything from architecture to product design to fonts and fashion too.
She has her own signature and creates beautiful and also comfortable clothes that women can really spend their days in.
Make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 2000 London time for Monocle's weekly design show, Monocle on Design. Or find it wherever you get your podcasts.
And now a pleasure to feature a brand new magazine for all those outdoor lovers. It's called New Mountain Magazine, an indie outdoor adventure publication founded by Izzy Wedderburn. She stopped by a Midori house to tell me all about it.
So this is my first published magazine, I guess. Whilst I was at university last year, I did lots of different print projects. That was sort of what I focused on in my final year, just purely because I love it. And I know I'm in a print place here, so, people love print, which is awesome. But I was very much kind of pushed to do more digital, different types of design. I'm a graphic designer, so for me, I focused on print. So this is, first thing that people can buy, basically, that I've made.
And I think they should.
Yeah.
Because it is a beautiful magazine. It's very hefty, I have to say. It's a slightly smaller format. There's over 200 pages.
Correct.
I wonder if you can give us an introduction to the title. I think it's in the name, New Mountain Magazine. It's very outdoorsy, right?
Exactly. So the whole point is it's New Mountain Magazine, stories of an outdoor kind. And that's super broad. And that was the whole point of this publication, was to share different adventure stories, outdoor stories of people doing whatever they want to do in the outdoors. And if you have a flick through, it's super broad. There's contributors from all over the world. We've got some kind of photo essays. We've got interviews with like gear makers. And then we've got lots of personal stories and personal essays of the journeys and the adventures that people go on, both like emotionally as well as physically. But it's definitely more focused on what adventure does to ourselves versus the statistics and the sort of getting A to B. It's how we feel and the journey, I guess, more or less.
And I have to say, looking at other perhaps mountain magazines or outdoorsy, this one feels very gentle. So in a way, it kind of connects with me because I do, as I said, I like to go for a walk in nature, but I'm not necessarily want to climb the tallest mountain in the world. And I think you wanted a specific to have that's different from other titles.
Exactly. I wanted it to feel real and relatable. And I wanted people to think that they can pick up this magazine and get inspired by something, and it's something they could actually do themselves. And yes, obviously, there are some bigger adventures in there, but they're all quite kind of local and real to those people. So yeah, it's not supposed to be a big scary kind of, like you say, conquering a big mountain. It's all just, it's the idea of this like new mountain, kind of a new narrative for adventure.
And is that something that you always like to do? I know you're based in Dorset, which is a beautiful place. I think it's a good place
yes.
for a magazine like this in a way.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fused my passions of the outdoors, and like I'm big kind of gravel rider and hiker, and I love my snow sports. So yeah, it's definitely a fusion of my design passion and then my outdoor kind of passion as well.
Let's talk about the magazine itself. How often will it come out? I wonder if you can tell us where people can actually go and buy a copy for themselves.
Yes, of course. So obviously this is the first one, but the plan is to be biannual, twice a year. As you can say, it's pretty thick and
I like it.
It's got a lot of contributors in it. So yeah, biannual is the plan. And you can buy it directly from newmountainmag.com, or you can get it from lots of different stockists around the UK and a couple in Europe at the moment as well. So it's all on the website. But yeah, in theory, it should be easily accessible.
And, as I said, over 200 pages. There's so many interesting stories there. One that caught my eye, for example, was the Outdoor Recreation Archive, which I think it's in Utah.
Yes, correct.
At Utah State University. What a beautiful story. So I wonder, tell us a bit this story and maybe what other stories can we find?
This one is awesome. So there's two guys at Utah State University, and they are basically archiving outdoor memorabilia in the outdoor industry. So they've got all sorts of catalogues and photographs and just...
I love a good catalogue.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. I need to go and visit them. Anyone can, actually. It's all free. But so yeah, they're doing awesome job in terms of the outdoor industry. And this interview is basically just kind of, I guess, telling readers what they're about, where you can get involved and why it's important to, archive print. But yeah, that's one of the stories. We've got a lovely story from a girl called Henna. She does it's called At Home, and it's basically a splitboarding story in Norway about finding home in the mountains and how actually pushing limits, being with friends is a way of finding home even in a country that isn't even your own. So that's like another story. We've got an amazing girl called Gail, who's an architect, and she in her spare time actually makes bikepacking gear. So she, custom, like awesome fabrics, really like attention to detail. So that's another story in there. So it's super broad, basically.
How has it been, the reception so far? I know it's been out for a few days maybe, or weeks, I don't know.
Yeah, it's been, so I launched it 2 weeks ago officially at the Outsider store in London, Coal Drops Yard, which was so cool just to see people actually come out and want to buy a big book about adventures when, let's be honest, a lot of this can be online, on social media and that whole, scrolling culture. But people are like, there's definitely this resurgent. People are wanting to buy it. Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said earlier, I haven't done a project like this before. I actually tried to sell it, so I wasn't really sure. But it's been really successful so far. And I've got some lovely messages about, how it feels different. Like you say, it feels friendly, it feels approachable.
And I might be saying something wrong here, but I think if you like the mountains, nature, a walk, or some of those sports mentioned here, I think you would like a magazine. It makes sense. It's this kind of almost back to basics type of feeling,
true.
Right?
So true. And it's almost like slowing down, isn't it? Like picking up a book is a way of just slowing down anyway. And a lot of these adventures are talk about that and how, the outdoors brings them back to themselves, brings them back to nature, in the moment, and how important that is.
Exactly. And I always ask our guests here on the Stack, sorry to put on the spot, but what other magazines do you like to read? I mean, is it always about adventure, mountains, or perhaps you have something completely different that you like to read?
No, it's all this, to be honest.
That's fine.
No, it's adventure, it's the outdoors.
It's a big part. I mean, for example, when I go to W.H. Smith, there is a big part there, about mountains, which gears you should buy, which is, there is a market for that. That's very important.
Yeah.
But not so many magazines like yours.
No, this is more book, I think, isn't it? In terms of this is something that, you can dip in and out of, get inspired about, put it on your bookshelf. And it's a nice, I guess it's almost a coffee table style kind of feel to it that it has that timelessness to it that hopefully people can resonate with.
Thank you very much, Izzy. And the first issue of New Mountain Magazine is out now. For more information, go to newmountainmag.com. And that's it for this week's show. My thanks to our editor, Jack Jewers. Any comments or queries, feel free to write to me, Fernando, at fb@monocle.com. And remember, we're back next Saturday at 10 a.m. London time. Meanwhile, you can always listen again at monocle.com or subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You've been listening to The Stack. I'm Fernando Augusto Pacheco. Until next time, it's goodbye from me.